there, the biggest and the best out there.
We had a welcome, didn't we, for Southampton's new signing today, Carlos Alcaraz, Charlie Alcaraz. Not the most rapturous of welcomes because the stadium isn't full. So there was a tiny element, I thought, of what have I got myself into here. But anyway, he's here and hopefully he'll help Southampton in the remainder of the season. Their other January arrival so far, Mislav Orsic, the Croatian World Cup player, is on the bench. I'll run you through the teams in full in a moment or two. But the match begins, this Carabao Cup quarter-final. It is Manchester City who get us underway. They're in their fluorescent yellow shirts tonight with the grey stripes, the horizontal stripes, and Southampton already on the move to the edge of the penalty area. A run to the edge of the box, actually, from Kyle Walker-Peters, who was challenged right on the edge of the area, went sprawling into the box, but the referee tonight, Peter Banks, said no, fair challenge, and the ball ran through to goalkeeper Ortega. And Manchester City passing the ball out from the back, as they like to do. Ortega all in blue, Southampton in their mainly white shirts with the big red stripe running down the front, Ajax style as it is this season, black shorts and white socks. And I noticed that Kyle Walker-Peters seems to have started on the right-hand side, Chris. That's the first thing I've picked up.
Kyle Walker-Peters on the left-hand side.
On the left-hand side, sorry,
yeah. It's a bit of a lottery, wasn't it?
It was.
Trying to jot down who was playing where for both teams.
Yeah, well, I think we had a firmer idea as Southampton win it back on the edge of the box. It was Ward-Prowse who was able to nip it away. Ball played out to the right-hand side. Gineppo, who's on the right-hand side, gives it back to Lavia against his former club, highly rated youngster, the number 45 for Southampton, still just 19 years old, as the ball is played forward and it's headed away by Cancelo, and Southampton go back to their goalkeeper Bazunu to the left-hand side. So Southampton have made 5 changes tonight. Shea Adams is on the bench, their top scorer. Important league matches for them both this weekend. So even though this is a quarter-final, it does feel that is part of the thinking coming into this. Southampton at Everton on Saturday, and Manchester City, of course, at Old Trafford for the derby match at Manchester United. So what have we got, Chris? So Bazuno's in goal. It is a back four, isn't it, with Lianco, Chaleta Sarr, Salisu and Walker-Peters.
They'll be quite fluid with it, though. We saw, I think, Lianco, is in the right back position. He'll be more of a back support for Southampton. We'll see Walker-Peters on that left-hand side, maraud forward. I suppose, being a right footer, he'll be looking to take care of Cole Palmer, who started on that right-hand side for City, who will like to come inside and try and link up.
Yes, we'll come to City in a moment, but to complete their lineup, Lavia and Diallo are playing as the two sort of holding players. Ward-Prowse in a very advanced role, in the sort of number 10 role, and then Mara and Armstrong, Adam Armstrong, the two players furthest forward. And as for Manchester City, so Ortega's the goalkeeper. They're coming forward down the right-hand side with Cancelo, but then Adam Armstrong steps in and sends the ball way back into his own left-back position. And that touch actually has taken it all the way behind for a corner. So he's conceded a corner from near the halfway line. He's unfortunate there. It was the way that it came to him. And the touch that he got sent it spinning away. And Manchester City have got a very cheap corner, their first of the match. We're going to go to the City ground in a moment or two, the other quarter-final of the night in the Carabao Cup. But City with this corner from the right-hand side. Here it is, swung into the near post, and it's headed away. So come in, Alistair, Bruce Ball from Nottingham.
Willy Bolly has scored for Nottingham Forest. 18 minutes in, Forest 1, Wolves 0. Came from a corner, swung in from the left-hand side. Aurier's flick grazed the bar. Jose Sarr was nowhere to be seen. Bolly stretched out a leg and finished it on the goal line. Forest 1, Wolves 0 in this quarter-final.
So that is running 15 minutes or so earlier than we are here at St Mary's. Southampton 0, Manchester City 0, 5 Live and BBC Sounds. And Manchester City, who are playing from right to left in this first half as we look, are in possession. And as I say, they've got Ortega in goal. And then at the back, Laporte, Walker and Cancelo, as the ball is swung out to Grealish on the left-hand side, who gets it down in the full-back position, crosses via a deflection, and Bazunu is able to take the ball, which actually looped up into the air for him in the 6-yard box. So Gomez on the left-hand side of defence.
They're a back four, City are, aren't they? The way they've set up, Cancelo right back, Kyle Walker centre back alongside Laporte, and Gomez in that left back position. Grealish left-hand side, Palmer high up on the right-hand side with Phillips just sat in front. And then they've got Foden playing as a number 8 and Gundogan as a number 8 higher up in the middle of the park. And Alvarez as a centre forward.
So that's the way it is today for Manchester City. He's kept us guessing, hasn't he, these last 2 away games? Stamford Bridge last weekend. Mind you, Nathan Jones has pulled out a couple of tactical surprises that maybe Pep Guardiola wasn't expecting. And now here is Diallo on the halfway line. Back it goes into Kyle Walker-Peters, as I say, starting on the left-hand side. And Southampton with it inside their own half. So it is the Manchester City supporters that you can hear at the moment to our right. And City are battling for it over on the far side. And in fact, they've come away with it. And now Cole Palmer, lovely change of feet. Gundogan with a shot on the edge of the box, but he screwed it wide as he arrived onto it on the edge of the area, maybe just inside when he hit the shot with his right foot, and it rolled away wide of the left post as he looked at it.
Yeah, there's a mistake from Salisu. So Nathan Jones comments in the week, we can't gift a goal a game. It's a poor error on that left-hand side. He gives the ball away, and Cole Palmer does really well. Composed, coming inside on his left foot, just feeds a ball, which allows Gundogan to run onto it. And from 18 yards, free shot at goal, scuffed it. It's a poor miss for him. Big chance for City.
It was, and that would have potentially set the tone if Gundogan had been able to tuck that away with only 6 minutes on the clock. But Southampton have won it back on the right-hand side, and it's Gineppo into the box, and then in comes the challenge on him, a sliding block. Some frustration among the Manchester City players. Laporte, that Gineppo got the chance to do that, but he's won a corner.
Yeah, Laporte gets back really well. Gineppo driving into the Manchester City box on that right-hand side. Could maybe have got an earlier cross in. Laporte did his job well.
Ward-Prowse with the corner, but he's actually taken it short. It's given back to him, and then it's angled to the edge of the box. Walker-Peters plays it in, but Calvin Phillips is there. His first start in a competitive match for Manchester City, and now the ball on the edge of the box with a shot that is a kind of snapshot that was hit by Chaleta Sarr from just outside the box, and Ortega had to leap to his right to push it away wide for a corner.
Yeah, not convincing defending.
Corner taken short, and then it's swung in, and Ortega, the goalkeeper, who was falling away at the back post, clawed it with his right hand over his own head and behind the far post for another corner.
I think he did well, Ortega, on a couple of occasions there. First, the shot from Chaleta Sarr from 18 yards as City didn't clear the lines. Outside of his left foot, just Chaleta Sarr, and a full stretch, turns the ball around the post and then dealt with that other cross really well to put it behind.
Ward-Prowse is going to strike this corner towards the far side of the penalty area. It was Grealish who headed it away. Then it's curled back in, and the header goalwards by Salisu. He was in between 2 City players, 12 yards out, and he could only head it straight at Ortega, who's been busy.
Yeah, he has, and it just wondered, before the game, Nathan Jones would have seen that Manchester City starting lineup. They're not the biggest. I think Southampton have the height advantage, so set plays could well be a big part of this game, especially for Southampton.
So it is 0-0. Southampton 0, Manchester City 0. BBC Radio 5 Live, and it's been won back by Gineppo for Southampton. He's made a promising start. Not the greatest attempted step over I've ever seen by Gineppo on the right wing. I think that was somewhat telegraphed.
He did a few, didn't he?
Well, there was a big one in there as well, wasn't there? It was almost like a triple jump. And however, he won a throw in.
A long throw.
Lianco
trying the ball.
Yes, with the towel. The ball boy just sits down, little fair-haired ball boy who's got the towel in his hands.
Will he give that towel to the Manchester City players?
I'm sure. Well, we'll see. Lianco with the long throw, which is headed away, comes out to the edge of the area where Gineppo brought it down, but it bounced up unhelpfully, and by the time he volleyed it high over the top of the bar by 3 or 4 yards. So it is a goal kick, and it's still Southampton 0, Manchester City 0, but promising.
Yes, I think Nathan Jones will be delighted with the start from his team. Gineppo been involved on a few occasions early on. That ball took a touch, it bounced It's under pressure, couldn't get his shot off quickly enough. But interesting setup, the Southampton setup. Lavia and Diallo in those holding midfield positions, with James Ward-Prowse playing just in behind. Sekou Mara up top, Gineppo off that right-hand side, and Armstrong off the left. And they've come out of the traps and really tried to take the game to Manchester City.
Yeah, well, fair play to them, and I think that's what the supporters will want. The Southampton fans, after these difficult early days for Nathan Jones, this only his 7th competitive match in charge of Southampton Football Club. He's lost all 4 of his Premier League matches so far, still looking for his first point at bottom of the Premier League, but they have won his 2 cup matches, and in fact they're unbeaten in the cups so far this season. That is the tiny crumb of comfort. He has Walker at the back, Kyle Walker starting as a central defender. We've seen him do that so often for England, of course, and here it comes back to Kyle Walker, who just plays the ball forward into the space. Sergio Gomez is there, and Gomez out to Jack Grealish, who had his heels on the white line. He wasn't involved on Sunday, Jack Grealish, against Chelsea because he'd been unwell, but back in the starting lineup here, having set up the opening goal at Chelsea last Thursday night after coming on as a substitute. And now Grealish cutting in from the left-hand side, gives it to Gundogan. Gomez gets it back, and now Gundogan, who has a little bit of space on the left-hand side here, but it just ran away from him, so Gundogan now plays it back towards the halfway line, where Nathan Jones is very obvious down there. He's all in black tonight, no coat, despite the weather here in Southampton this evening. At times it has been absolutely torrential. And Laporte now finds Gundogan, who's still on the left wing. Gundogan coming in field. He is challenged by Gineppo. I think he maybe just got a little touch on that, which took it away from him. And in the end, goalkeeper Bazunu was able to clear it out of play on the halfway line. So Southampton 0, Manchester City 0. Nottingham Forest still 1-0 up on Wolves in the 7:45 kick-off in the Carabao Cup, and there is a choice of listening for you tonight. If you want to follow that one, you can listen to Pete Mullenstein and Clinton Morrison over on Sports Extra on your digital radio, or indeed via BBC Sounds. So 0-0 it is, and Manchester City playing it forward for Gomez, and Grealish again. Grealish, who was caught there by Lianco, left a little bit on Grealish there, right in front of where Pep Guardiola, an unmoved Pep Guardiola, is standing.
Yeah, Lianco just letting Grealish know that he's there. I think Grealish is going to relish that battle though tonight. Lianco can play in that right back position, but I think Grealish will fancy his chances in those 1v1 duels.
Adam Armstrong on the left-hand side for Southampton, just 2 goals for him this season. So that second, what turned out to be the winning goal in the FA Cup against Crystal Palace at the weekend, will have been very welcome. So he's over on the left-hand side, as Chris has said. Gineppo playing on the right-hand side, and Ward-Prowse in the advanced position behind Sekou Mara, who's still looking for his first goal as a Southampton player, one of the many summer arrivals. Mara, just 20 years old, almost £10 million, signed from Bordeaux last summer. Ward-Prowse in on the challenge on Laporte. Laporte has played it back. The assistant down here says the ball is out of play. And I know Ali mentioned it, but I think it is worth repeating that even though it's a Premier League ground between 2 Premier League clubs, there is no VAR in use tonight, because the Football League have decreed that in this competition, video assistant referees can only be used in the semi-finals and the final. So
I think a lot of fans around the country might enjoy that.
Yeah. Southampton 0, Manchester City 0, and it is Manchester City with the ball inside their own half.
And the inverted fullbacks there, Gomez tucking in alongside Calvin Phillips, and Cancelo narrow off the right there, but sloppy from Kyle Walker there.
Tucked in so much, Gomez, that when Walker turned to his left and expected to find the left back, I don't know where you would normally find a left back, he wasn't there, and the ball just trundled out of play on the halfway line. Still, what you win in certain areas, you lose in others, and the wins for Manchester City do tend to be big wins generally. Comes back to goalkeeper Bazunu, the young Republic of Ireland goalkeeper. Another of the summer arrivals. Back it goes to the halfway line. There it's headed forward by Gomez. Then back, Calvin Phillips is there. Hair tied up tightly, that bunch above his head. And then Calvin Phillips is picked up for a little trip on Gineppo, and it's a free kick to Southampton near the halfway line. Still the rain comes down. We're tightly packed in together, you and I here, Chris, and the seats of two, as they are in the media section at St Mary's Stadium. So we're very much shoulder to shoulder. It's like being in the front seat of a sports car, isn't it? We're right tightly.
I wouldn't know, John.
Well, I'm sure going back to your days, the days of
playing days,
as a young footballer driving all of those sports cars. Here is the free kick then. Ward-Prowse out to the right-hand side. Gineppo now trying to find his way infield. Taken up by Armstrong. Oh, good-looking cross. Phillips was there to head it away for Manchester City. Comes out to Walker-Peters. Walker-Peters now back centrally to Lavia, and then Lavia back to Ward-Prowse, who's still in the centre circle. Furthest man back from the outfield players. Infield, Lavia. Tidy stuff from Southampton, but City forced them to give it all the way back to Bazunu, Gavin Bazunu, who's kept as Southampton's goalkeeper so far just the one clean sheet. Gineppo down the right-hand side into the full-back position, taking on Gomez, and the ball runs out of play. Peter Banks, the referee, says for a goal kick. 0-0.
There's a wonderful long ball from Bazunu. Southampton goalkeeper raking past Edison-like, John, to Gineppo, who makes a bit of a mess of that. Actually picks the ball up near the corner flag and runs at Gomez, but ends up tripping over the ball. Bazunu, of course, one of many Southampton signings in the summer from Manchester City. It was like a conveyor belt of Manchester City development players coming in.
Yep, Edozie is another. He's on the bench tonight, might get a chance against his former club. I saw him play in the Community Shield at the start of last season, and remember him really catching the eye.
Lavia on the ball there just now. He had a really strong start to the season, hampered by injury. And Larios as well.
Yeah, Larios as well.
And they've signed another Manchester City player today, Jason Wilcox.
Former Blackburn player, Chris, who you will know well, or at least that's not been announced yet, I don't think, Chris, as Grealish carries the ball in field across the centre circle, and again he was
but he can't keep letting the referee can't keep letting Lianco get away with that. That's two on Grealish now.
Actually, it was Alvarez. No, it was Grealish. It was Grealish. Yeah, snapping away at him again, and Manchester City I'm not best pleased with that. Certainly Grealish isn't, and you can probably understand it, although that's the sort of treatment that we're used to seeing him get throughout the course of the time that he's been a frontline player, Jack Grealish. So 0-0 here at St Mary's. Back to Nottingham. Alistair Bruce Ball.
13 minutes left in the first half here. 7:45 kick-off. Nottingham Forest leading Wolves by a goal to nil. Gustavo Scarpa, the Brazilian, just picking himself to his feet. He caught a stray arm from Totti in the face. The goal came from a set-piece corner from Nottingham Forest, stabbed home by Willy Bolly against his former club, of course, having joined Forest from Wolves in the summer. Also recently became a father for the third time. So double celebration for Willy Bolly. Forest 1, Wolves 0.
Southampton 0, Manchester City 0. That match on Sports Extra, not on television at all. Forest against Wolves, so the only place to follow it is on Sports Extra and BBC Sounds. And the ball in the centre circle with Manchester City. Walker playing it to the right-hand side. Cole Palmer is there. Palmer has been playing recently on the left-hand side, but tonight on the right. I've seen him play there before. He's a very adaptable player, as of course so many of Manchester City's are. Here's Grealish now, getting the ball down, plays it across, but it took a deflection, and Bazunu was able to step off his goal line and take the ball quite comfortably, Chris Sutton.
Grealish on the left-hand side. Gomez had made the underlap, but Grealish coming inside on his right foot. Lianco got enough on the ball, and Bazunu gathered. Nathan Jones will be absolutely delighted with his team's application and aggression in this opening 20-odd minutes. Limited City just to that one opportunity from Gundogan, and that's been about it. City not with the usual flow.
Well, Manchester City have occasionally found it tricky against Southampton, but they have on occasion as well absolutely taken them to the cleaners in recent seasons. Here's Adam Armstrong on the left-hand side. Adam Armstrong now trying to take it round the outside of Walker, who came all the way across, stopped the ball on the dead ball line, turned and chipped it away, but that's back to the white, mainly white shirts of Southampton. And then it's steered to the right-hand side for Lianco. And now Gineppo will give it back to Lianco. And then back it goes into the middleman, Chalata Sarr. Lianco again on the right-hand side, goes for an early long ball downfield to the edge of the box. Mara takes it down and shoots on the turn, and it clipped, well, I thought it had clipped the calf of Kyle Walker on its way wide, but Peter Banks, who was looking at it from the other angle, says goal kick.
And I think he was onside. Mara, a long ball. Nathan Jones criticised at the weekend, wasn't he, at Crystal Palace, but spacing behind that Manchester City backline, and Lianco, the Southampton right back, clipping a ball over Laporte, and Mara should have actually done better. Took the ball in well, and then on the turn shanked his left foot effort well wide.
This is his 16th appearance for Southampton for the first team. Siku Mara, French under-21 international, and as I say, he's yet to get off the mark. Back to the City ground, Alistair Bruce ball.
Still Nottingham Forest leading Wolves by 1-0, thanks to their goalkeeper Dean Henderson. Sharp stop from Raul Jimenez. Good attack from Wolves on the counter. 1-2 between Hwang and Jimenez. Henderson made the save, and then the rebound. It fell to Guedes. Chris would say, mind the windows. Forest 1, Wolves 0.
Still 0-0 here, thank you, Ali. And the rain is getting heavier, it's sweeping across, you can see it underneath the floodlights. It's not quite as wet. I don't know whether you saw that little video that Ian Dennis sent from Old Trafford last night, which looked absolutely biblical, the rain there. Mind you, at times here in Southampton it has really chucked it down. Phillips playing it through the middle, and that's a poor ball. He passed it straight to Lavia, and so Southampton have got it back, and there's a little bit of ricochet along the halfway line. Ward-Prowse sends it forward, goalkeeper came out, Mara missed it, Ortega was able to clear it outside the penalty area, and City were a little fortunate there. That could have gone anywhere, and then that's a misplaced pass by Gomez, and that means that Lianco's off down the left, and then it comes into the middle where it is buried, and Mara has scored his first goal for Southampton, and against the odds it is the Saints who are in front in the quarter-final against Manchester City here at St Mary's. He's enjoyed that one. He slid away on his back, and you can almost see him saying, thank goodness for that. Southampton 1, Manchester City 0.
What a finish this is from Mara. City, I've got to say, have been really sloppy. The opening 22 minutes, I think it's Grealish who, well, the ball tried to play it out to Grealish, tried to play the ball out to Grealish, and Lianco picks the ball up and he drives right-hand side, gets his head up, and he fizzes a right foot cross in, one bounce, and Mara makes a run across Kyle Walker, level with the near post, 16 yards out. The connection is perfect into the corner, past Ortega. It's a wonderful finish. And listen to the crowd now.
And there we have it. His 16th appearance for Southampton, brings his first goal. Great moment for the 20-year-old. As I say, around about £10 million. Southampton always announce their signings as undisclosed, so it's basically what has been reported, and so it's in the region of £10 million. And clearly had a tough time coming into a team very highly rated, French under-21 international. Great things were forecast for him. Made his big move to the Premier League and found himself in a struggling Southampton team. But he caught that beautifully on his right foot. What was he, 10, 12 yards out?
You would think he was more than that. And, I mean, it was a really good cross from Lianco. The timing of his run was brilliant to get across Kyle Walker. And there's a sweeping finish. It's a zippy surface. Ortega absolutely no chance. I mean, that's the finish of a guy, you know, you'd expect would have a dozen goals this season already. Hasn't scored. That was his first goal, and he's off the mark. And you must see a yellow card here for Lavia. Falling back, Gundogan. Maybe, John, that goal will spark City into life.
Maybe it will. and you know, as we mentioned before the match, but for those who switched on for kick-off, Manchester City have got a very strong bench here tonight. But Gundogan there bursting forward, tugged back by Lavia, who is yellow carded against his former club. But Southampton 1, Manchester City 0. Still Nottingham Forest 1, Wolves 0 in the other quarter-final tonight, with Manchester United and Newcastle United waiting in the semi-final draw, which will take place later on this evening after these matches are finished. Free kick, Foden plays it into the edge of the area. Poor delivery though, really, from Foden. Easy header away for Lianco on the edge of his box. Lianco, who's involved in the only goal so far. It came in the 23rd minute, so just past the midway point of the first half. And actually, Southampton have deserved it. They've deserved the goal for what they've put into this game.
Yeah, they have. They've played with a greater intensity, and Manchester City got a lot of work to do.
They have. Ward-Prowse into the challenge, and the ball bounces off Gundogan and out of play for a Southampton throw. It's quite tricky here at Southampton. As I say, it's like being in the front seat of a sports car, and we've got a tiny, we must have about 6-inch square of space on the desk. So I'm just reaching for my team sheet just to tell you that on the bench for Manchester City tonight, Mahrez, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, Haaland. The ball bounces back to goalkeeper Ortega, who's just playing it back into his box and then drops on it with Mara not far away, as well as Nathan Ake, goalkeeper Ederson, Rodri, Akanji and young Rico Lewis. That's one of the strongest benches you will see, and they might need them, Chris.
They might. Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible bench. And his first 11 haven't got going just yet. Pep up off the bench in his technical area, maybe to change things tactically.
But it is Southampton who will come forward again with Diallo, and then runs away from him. Ward-Prowse was looking for it on the edge of the box, but it ran through to Ortega. So Southampton in front here. Nottingham Forest still in front against Wolves. Alistair, Bruce Ball.
Yeah, thanks to some more Dean Henderson heroics. Again, full stretch reflex save to deny Hwang Hee-chan this time. Cross in from Raul Jimenez. Hwang Hee-chan at close range hit the ball down into the ground, and Henderson just threw a right arm up and managed to palm it away. Forest 1, Wolves 0.
Palmer inside the Southampton penalty area after a breakaway from Grealish, but Palmer's side-footed shot hit a defender and Southampton were able to clear. Palmer's got it again and then couldn't find the pass through there either, again finding Southampton players. And so it is the Saints who break away on the left hand side. Ward-Prowse is furthest forward through the middle, and over there on that far side, a throw-in is won by Walker-Peters halfway inside the Manchester City half. Good again from Southampton.
Yeah, it was, but that was a good break from Manchester City there. Grealish, a lot of space down that left-hand side, gets his head up and picks the pass for Cole Palmer brilliantly, and he's 12-14 yards out, and it's blocked, I think, from Salisu, and he's really careless as the ball comes back to Palmer.
Southampton coming forward again. Oh, and it's in! Curling shot from Gineppo. Ortega was way off his line, and the ball just arced over the top of him into the Manchester City net. From 25-30 yards out, Southampton have a 2-goal lead against Manchester City, and no one was expecting this.
Absolutely not. What a goal this is from Gineppo. Picks the ball up off the left-hand side, and he just gets his head up a couple of touches. Ortega is miles off his line, and it's perfection. Just lifts the ball over him. Ortega floundering. It's a brilliant finish. I don't know what Ortega's doing though that far out. Allows Gineppo to make his mind up, but he's still got to get the right connection on the ball, the right trajectory, and he does do. Perfect. And Manchester City said they've got work to do. Pep may be using his bench pretty early.
Well, Southampton 2, Manchester City 0, and Manchester City have got an awful lot to do in this match. There is a long way to go. We've got an hour of the match to go, and remember, no extra time in the Carabao Cup. Were it to be level after 90 minutes, it would go straight to penalties. But Manchester City have got real work to do here just to get back to parity. And suddenly, listen to this. Listen to the sound of St Mary's.
They love Nathan Jones here.
Phil Foden, who's barely been involved in the game, goes on a weaving run from out on the right-hand side, but in come the challenges, centre field, and Southampton are able to clear, and Manchester City have got to start again from inside their own half. Pep Guardiola doing the YMCA down there on the side of the field, and that will tell you that there's trouble for Manchester City. Lianco, I thought he was fouled, and Peter Banks belatedly agrees and gives the free kick.
Well, Lianco drag back on Jack Grealish. Didn't expect that, but that tells you everything you need to know about this Southampton team. Their tails are up, they're fancying this. I think when they went 1-0 up, you think they've got something to hold on to, but that second goal, wow, what a finish.
I mean, how far was Ortega off his line? He was well outside the 6-yard box. He was somewhere between the 6-yard box and the penalty spot. And Gineppo clearly saw it. Just curled the ball over the top of him.
I don't know what Ortega is thinking of there. He shows him the chip essentially, but it's still a brilliant finish.
Foden trying to get away down the right-hand side, but Walker-Peters is able to. I thought Foden had gone past him, but Walker-Peters recovered, put the challenge in, and Southampton have got it again in front of their own penalty area on this wet night. I was saying on Drive a little earlier that this is the sort of weather, isn't it? When you come to a cup tie, you think, well, this is potential cup upset weather. But maybe that's a reason that some of these Southampton fans haven't turned up tonight. That plus the fact that they're at the bottom of Premier League and the mood has been as it has been at St Mary's this season. But they might be regretting it now. Might be missing a famous night. They might be getting through to the semi-finals.
Yeah, well, they may be coming for the second half, John, those Southampton fans who are missing.
I think I actually read on their website this afternoon, you can buy tickets until half-time. So it's not too late. If you're in Southampton, there's about 15 minutes to go to the break. You might be able to make your way from the city centre. It's just a short walk out here towards the River Itchen, which is just over the stand on the far side of the ground from where we are. The wind swirling in off that. And Manchester City, and of course, with this scoreline, Southampton 2, Manchester City 0, whatever hopes they had of going for the clean sweep again this season, well, they're disappearing down the River Itchen. Here's Grealish carrying the ball back towards the halfway line. Grealish up against Ward-Prowse, then just knocks it into the centre circle. Cancelo is there in this advanced position, and he's really, as a midfielder at the moment, Cancelo. Palmer makes ground down the right. Cancelo drops a shoulder. Adam Armstrong in front of him. Back it comes centrally to Phillips, and then back to Walker. Laporte, he takes a touch, strokes it low through the middle to Gundogan, who just plays it back to Sergio Gomez. Grealish is here on the left-hand side. Grealish with Gineppo next to him. Grealish gives the ball to Gomez, and then in comes Gineppo to put in the challenge. The ball runs away out of play nearer the halfway line. Gineppo, almost like a demon, is on his feet appealing for a throw-in, very optimistic. And the referee calmly gives the throw-in Manchester City's way. So we've had 33 minutes on the clock, and Mara and Gineppo scoring the goals. And I mean, that's a story in itself. Mara having never scored for Southampton since joining the club last summer, and Gineppo has not scored for almost 2 years. And they're the men who've got them. Gundogan. Oh, Lianco's been beaten by Grealish, and Grealish is away, cuts into the penalty area, and then shoots into the legs of Chaleta Tsar, and the ball skids away behind the near post for a corner.
That's really daft defending from Lianco. Nathan Jones going berserk in his technical area. He goes to ground. Grealish drives in on that left-hand side of the box, and Chaleta Tsar makes a timely block as Grealish tries to fire a shot into that far corner.
Grealish with a corner, in it comes. Bazunu comes and gets a punch on that. All in purple, white gloves, got both white gloves to the ball, punched it up and away, cleared the penalty area. and now eventually the ball is out of play for a throw-in to Southampton nearer the halfway line. So 2-0 Southampton, and it is Southampton who've got their sights on the semi-finals, and it's Manchester City who would be going out with this scoreline. Half-time at Forest. Alistair, Bruce Ball.
Nottingham Forest with their sights on the semi-finals in this one. They lead Wolves by 1-0. Former Wolves centre-back Willy Bolly scored the goal from close range. Forest indebted to their goalkeeper Dean Henderson. 2 wonderful saves from Jimenez and Hwang. Forest 1, Wolves 0.
Southampton in possession in the centre circle. I think that wind is increasing in intensity. It's really swirling around the bowl of St Mary's as Southampton have possession inside their own half. And here is Diallo. And Diallo plays it for Walker-Peters, but I don't think he'll reach that. No, it runs away beyond him and out of play for a throw-in to Manchester City. So Manchester City, who have dominated this competition in recent seasons, winning it 6 times in the last 9 seasons, including a record equalling 4 in a row. So Pep Guardiola, 4 times winners of this competition, and he tonight making 4 changes to his starting lineup, a starting lineup that has to, Chris, have an eye on Old Trafford on Saturday. There's no question about that. I think Eric Ten Hag can probably assume that most of those players on the bench will be starting against his team at the weekend.
Yeah, and I'd certainly agree with that. Pep roulette, but it's not paid off so far this evening. It'll be interesting to see whether the likes of Haaland and De Bruyne are thrown on at half-time. Everybody talks about how much this competition means to Pep and how important it is. Well, you've got to get your big guns on.
Nice little header back from Lianco against Grealish, so that makes up for his earlier error, and the ball bounces through to Bazunu. So this is 5 Live. Sports Extra listeners have joined us as well for the half-time break at the City Ground, and this is a story here. Southampton leading Manchester City by 2-0. And Kyle Walker just allows the ball to bounce across him, and then Cancelo will tap it back to Ortega. For those who've just joined on Sports Extra, the 2 goals scored by Siku Mara, very good finish from Lianco's ball into the penalty area, sweeping finish for his first for Southampton, and then 6 minutes later Southampton, bottom of the Premier League, doubled their lead when Gineppo shot in from, I would say it would have been between 25 and 30 yards out. He saw goalkeeper Ortega off his line, and he lifted his shot over him and into the back of the Manchester City net, and it's out of play now for a throw-in on the halfway line with around about 8 minutes to go to the break. Chris Sutton.
Yeah, the quality of Southampton's finishing, really top draw from a team who have struggled in the Premier League this season. Mara's finish superb, and then Gineppo, odd goalkeeping, you got to say. I mean, he ran 15-20 yards with the ball, a few touches, got his head up. Ortega didn't retreat, but still had to get the chip right, and he did do.
Grealish playing the ball infield, a flick by Alvarez, and now centrally Foden, but it's very, very congested in there, and Southampton 3, 4, 5 players in there, and Southampton come out of it with Lavia, and then Lavia plays it between 2 defenders on the halfway line. Ward-Prowse could have taken that on there, but chose to turn back. Mara was making ground through the middle, but Southampton have got it halfway inside their own half. It's that old time-old scenario in football, a 2-0 lead. Ward-Prowse plays the ball to Gineppo down the right wing, who, I know it's wet, I know it's a wet night, but that, honestly, that you could have seen that in the Olympic diving pool from Gineppo. I mean, it was like a cartoon, Tom and Jerry style. Palms together, leap forward into the water.
Yeah, and
absolutely hilarious.
You know where he's going, John?
I know where he has won it. I mean, you don't even need to listen to the simulation game on Sunday. That was a classic. That was dive of the season.
Could be dive of the decade. I mean, that was that good.
Will you have a dive of the season right at the end of the season?
Well, we should do, yeah.
What a way to finish the season. Mind you never stop on 606, do you? A long ball forward. Gundogan takes it down on the edge of the box. Gundogan to Palmer on the right-hand side. Palmer infield on his left foot. Still Palmer puts his foot on it. Cancelo makes the run. Infield it comes though to Calvin Phillips. Calvin Phillips being chased by Mara, and now back out to the right-hand side. Gundogan is there with Cancelo, and then back. Manchester City go to the halfway line. That's what they want. They want a goal back before half-time, make Nathan Jones and Southampton think. At the moment, they're thinking, well, they're almost pinching themselves with this 2-0 lead. Palmer on the right-hand side. Palmer still with it. It bounces away. Ward-Prowse is able to play it forward. And then it is with Walker who plays it back to Ortega. So 2-0 Southampton lead. Earlier this season, if you remember, in the sort of dying days of Ralph Hasenhüttl, their first meeting in the Premier League, Manchester City won that 4-0 in Manchester at a canter. Towards the end of last season, City came here and won 4-1 in the FA Cup quarter-finals. But in the league last season, they'd finished 1-1 here in the Premier League and 0-0 in Manchester. 2-0 to Southampton tonight. It's a result, a scoreline feels like it's almost out of the blue. As City play a ball forward and Walker Peters is underneath it and just glances it behind. So that is a corner to Manchester City. From the right-hand side, rain absolutely sweeping down over the top of the stand. In comes the corner. Oh, a little glance, that was important from Chaleta Tsar, just to take it away. There were two City players behind him, and he glanced it right across the penalty area and out for a throw on the left-hand side. Stormy night in Southampton, and storm clouds gathering, and that's a terrible foul throw by Sergio Gomez. We're seeing it all tonight, Chris.
Well, dives, foul throws. It's been an insipid display from Manchester City. Look at Pep on the bench there. He is horrified by this performance.
He's got his hand on his chin. He's looking at the ground. He's tapping his other hand on his knee, and he is not best pleased. I think we can take that. And then the wind blows in again, and Ward-Prowse is challenged shoulder to shoulder by Phillips, and then it's headed away to Sergio Gomez. Phillips, who was caught there by Adam Armstrong, and that is brought back by referee Banks for a free kick to Manchester City. He's okay, Phillips. Yeah. Late though, Armstrong.
I mean, our Southampton, they just seem to be more aggressive, more purpose to the play. It looks like City have rocked up here tonight and they've seen Southampton's form all season. They walloped them at the Etihad, as you said, 4-0. And I think that, this team so far this evening have just thought, well, it's going to happen and we're going to win this at a canter. They've got real work to do, but haven't really raised the level of performance.
Yeah, two tough matches against Chelsea. Certainly on paper anyway, but it was tough at Stamford Bridge.
He made a lot of changes though, didn't he, from Thursday to Sunday?
Yeah, he did.
And we always marvel about the strength and depth within the City squad. Well, the likes of Phil Foden, who's playing in that sort of number 8 position this evening, he's had as poor a game as I think I've ever seen him have.
Yeah, he's barely been in it, has he? Phil Foden in a sort of tucked in central position, just behind him to the right of Alvarez. So 2-0 to Southampton. 5 Live and BBC Sounds and Sports Extra at the moment as well. Nottingham Forest leading Wolves 1-0 at half-time, if you've just switched onto us. And the weather is worsening as well. I mean, it looks like clouds of rain are being blown in here. It'll be a rough night on the Solent tonight, Chris.
Oh, it will be, but we can't. Manchester City players can't use rain as an excuse, John, can they?
No, they can't. No. They might try.
They're used to this every day up north.
Well, they had it in Manchester last night. I know. I hope Pep's got his fisherman's polo neck sweater on tonight underneath that black coat, because if there was ever a night when you needed it, it's tonight. I wouldn't like to be on Pep Guardiola's trawler this evening in the Solent. It's a night for the shipping forecast, isn't it? Don't miss the shipping forecast tonight. Here's Sergio Gomez with a throw down into the fullback position to Grealish, back to Gomez, left-footed ball in. Gundogan tried to chest it down, but it bounced off his chest and it was whacked away by Diallo. And now Southampton take it forward with Ward-Prowse, but he runs into Laporte and City have got it back.
Yeah, Ward-Prowse excellent there, taking the ball off Phillips, who's, had his opportunity this evening. I've got to say, if Manchester City are serious about staying in this competition, they've got to make changes at half-time.
Well, he will, won't he?
Well, you'd think so. Got to bring on the A-team.
Well, if you remember, Chelsea were the better team, weren't they, in the first half when we saw them last Thursday at Stamford Bridge, and he made those 2 changes at half-time, 2 more in the second half, and that changed it. However, they weren't 2-0 down, which they are here, and Adam Armstrong trying to make ground down the left, but City were there in numbers, and in the end Ortega clears, and 1 minute of added time at the end of the first half, and it has been Southampton's first half, and hands up everyone who thought we were going to be saying that. 2-0 their lead, bottom of the Premier League against second in the table, the champions. Long one forward for Grealish, but that'll bounce through to Bazunu.
Yeah, my hand is firmly down, John. Adam Armstrong, like Neymar there on that left-hand side for Southampton. Southampton, tell you though, you're quite right, they deserve to go in 2-0 ahead. The quality of the goals has been there, but the performance has been there. They've actually taken the game to Manchester City. Manchester City, they've really lacked rhythm and urgency, speed of passing.
Yeah, and Southampton have clearly stepped up. I have to confess, for my sins, it's the first time I've been to St Mary's this season, and seeing this performance as the half-time whistle goes, Southampton leading Manchester City 2-0 in this quarter-final, I'm tempted to think, where's this come from? But clearly they've taken heart and taken confidence from the win in the FA Cup at Crystal Palace at the weekend, and now here they are doing this to Manchester City, Chris Sutton.
Absolutely, what a first half from Nathan Jones' team. They started fast. Mara, brilliant sweeping goal, good ball in from the right-hand side. The second goal, just as special from Gineppo. But Southampton deservedly go in 2 ahead. They've been the better team, and I expect wholesale changes from Pep and Manchester City if they want to win another League Cup this season.
Yep, the good ship Guardiola is rocking here in Southampton. They're in trouble. Southampton are winning 2-0 at half-time.
Just looking at the messages we're getting to 85058 and at 5 Live Sport. Rachel, who's a Southampton fan. The Saints are storming in. James, very good start. Can we transfer this to the Premier League? James, it's only half-time, but what a half, Chris Sutton. And they are leaving it all out there.
Yeah, and look, I think Nathan Jones would, when he first came in, would have wanted a performance of this intensity. I mean, the desire's been there, but the quality of the play has been excellent. And I think, got to say, travelling down on the train today, I thought Manchester City would just rock up here tonight and wipe the floor with Southampton. The confidence has been really low as of late. The supporters have been on the team's back, the manager's back, but it's performances like this which can really kickstart Nathan Jones's management career at Southampton, for them to stay and for them to stay in the Premier League. They've taken the game to Manchester City. They've been extremely brave on the ball. I think Lavia has been excellent in the middle of the park for them. And they've pretty much dominated Manchester City, and you've got to take your hat off to them.
Yeah, and we spoke so much about Nathan Jones before the game. We had a Southampton fan on basically saying that as it stands, they're not yet convinced. I mean, he deserves a massive amount of credit, given the situation he's in, for going for it, doesn't he?
Yep, absolutely. That they've been extremely brave, and they've sort of had to be. But just think about the criticism of his Southampton team at the weekend, that they're a long ball team. They've actually played out from the back when it's on to do so. I mean, they have clipped balls in behind at times for Mara when there's space in behind. I think tactically they've been absolutely superb. And when they've overturned possession, what they have done is, they've really worked hard to win it back, and they've really knocked Manchester City out of the rhythm. As I say, I can't remember many times over the last few seasons where Manchester City have been this poor. Now, Pep's made changes again, and, we always talk about him rotating a lot, and, they're in so many competitions. But, if Pep is serious about staying in this competition, then I tell you, we've got to see Haaland come on at half-time. We've got to see Rodri come on. Phillips talked about him starting for City. That hasn't really worked out. City want to get back into this game. They need to get the big hitters on.
Well, I suspect Ederson won't be one of the big hitters that comes on, but I've got to ask the question on Ortega. I know I'm not the goalkeeper and you weren't a goalkeeper, but he's on his 6-yard line when the ball goes in the net. Surely he's way too far out, isn't he?
Well, yeah. It was a brilliant finish. It sounds like we're taking something away from Gineppo. We're not. But he peeled in off the line on the left-hand side, and then I think he dribbles the ball for 10-15 yards, gets turned, and he takes 3 or 4 touches. In that time, he's got his head up. You're thinking, well, Ortega has to drop really quickly here, and he doesn't. And then all of a sudden Gineppo thinks, well, if you're going to show me that, I'm going to take it. And boy, did he take it. Wonderful chip into the back of the net, but questionable goalkeeping. Rubbish goalkeeping.
Chris, John, thank you very much for the time being. What a first half at St Mary's. Massive story potentially brewing there. Southampton 2, Manchester City 0. They're only just underway in the second half of the other quarter-final tie tonight. It's still Nottingham Forest 1, Wolves 0. Willy Bolly scoring the goal against his old club. Women's League Cup ties this evening going on as well, both in the second half. Sunderland 0, Leicester 1, Charlton 0, Crystal Palace 0. And I've got to tell you as well, in the netball, great performance from England. They've come from behind to win and win handsomely. England 73, Jamaica 52. The final score there. We're going to be talking rugby and the controversy surrounding the suspension of England captain Owen Farrell after the latest news on 5 Live with Jill Mackenzie.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you. Good evening. NHS leaders say it's too early to tell how disruptive today's strike by ambulance workers has been. Around 20,000 people have walked out in Wales and most of England and are only responding to the most urgent emergencies. Lewis Stoner is a paramedic in Devon.
Gradually every year the winter pressure grows more and more and more, and now to be sat there holding for hours and hours and hours, that's just something, as I said, I've not seen before in my career. It's upsetting. The upset is that when you're hearing that radio go off, that, they've got nothing to send.
The Public and Commercial Services Union says around 100,000 civil servants will strike on the 1st of February. Their dispute is over jobs, pay and conditions. The Conservative MP Andrew Bridgen has been suspended from the party for spreading misinformation about COVID vaccinations. He tweeted comparing vaccines to the Holocaust. The Tory Chief Whip Simon Hart said that crossed a line. Royal Mail says a cyber incident means it can't send letters and parcels overseas. It's asked customers to stop posting items abroad while it sorts the problem. Sinn Féin has refused to take part in talks aimed at restoring devolved government in Northern Ireland, saying its president, Mary Lou MacDonald, had been excluded from the meeting. The Foreign Secretary, James Cleverly, insists that wasn't the case and that her deputy, Michelle O'Neill, had been invited because the meeting was for political representatives in Northern Ireland. But Mrs MacDonald says that's an unacceptable argument.
In an unprecedented way, the British government chose to seek to exclude the leader of Sinn Féin from a leaders' meeting. The whole thing is absolutely bizarre and, it has to be said, unacceptable.
And Elon Musk has broken the record for the largest loss of personal fortune in history. The Guinness Book of Records says he lost around £136 billion from November 2021 to December 2022, mainly because his car company, Tesla, dropped in value.
One of the biggest football events in the calendar is upon us.
That is absolutely sensational!
That's right, the January transfer window is defying the British winter and is wedged wide open.
The Transfer Gossip Daily Podcast with Maisie Adam.
Every day throughout the month, I'll be joined by some of the country's best football journalists to dissect the day's most tantalising transfer rumours from across the world, all in under 10 minutes.
What will happen next?
Keep up to date with all the comings and goings fresh from the rumour mill with the Transfer Gossip Daily Podcast. Listen on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport
with Steve Crossman.
And what a first half we've had at St Mary's. Half-time Southampton 2, Manchester City 0 in the League Cup quarter-final. We've got second half commentary on the way here on 5 Live. On 5 Sports Extra, they're into the second half in the night's other tie, which is Nottingham Forest against Wolves. Ali Breesball.
5 minutes into the second half, the squally Southampton rain has reached Nottingham Forest, leading Wolves by a goal to 0. Jose Sarr has just prevented that, going 2-0 to Nottingham Forest. Wolves giving the ball away on the edge of their own box. Morgan Gibbs-White shooting low. Another former Wolves man, of course, aiming for the bottom corner. Sarr at full stretch managed to palm it away. Julen Lopetegui's made a change at half-time, Steve. He's taken off an attacking player, Gonçalo Guedes, and brought on Ruben Neves, which has meant a bit of a change of shape. And I think the idea just to get Neves in central midfield and try and get control of the game. Wolves certainly weren't outplayed in the first half. Dean Henderson made a couple of excellent saves. Nottingham Forest have played some good stuff going forward as well, but I think the Forest fans will know this isn't over just yet. So Neves is on for Guedes at half-time for Wolves. Here come Wolves. Hwang is tackled on the edge of the penalty area, and Nottingham Forest lead Wolves by a goal to 0.
Ali, thank you very much indeed. Elsewhere, Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin has been discharged from hospital 9 days after his cardiac arrest during an NFL game. The 4 times Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka has announced that she's pregnant. She withdrew from the Australian Open earlier this week, having not played since September. Let's head to Alexandra Palace next. Snooker's Masters is taking place. Jamie Broughton is there for us. What drama you've seen from Judd Trump, Jamie?
Evening, Steve. Yes, we saw a fantastic fight back this afternoon for the 2019 champion as he came from 5-3 down against Ryan Day to win a thrilling final frame decider 6-5. Trump made a 58 break as he wrapped up victory, but he knows he'll have to play much better if he's going to have any chance of beating Barry Hawkins when they play in the quarterfinals.
Also looking to get into that quarterfinals, Kyron Wilson and Stuart Bingham playing now. So what's the latest?
Yes, Stuart Bingham's made a flying start. He now leads by 4 frames to 0. He opened up tonight with back-to-back centres. He knocked in a break of 85, 4-0 up at the mid-session interval, now back underway. And Bingham is on a break of 54, so he's closing in on a 5-0 lead. So he's 1 away, and if he does get over the line, he'll take on Sean Murphy in the quarterfinals.
Jamie, thank you very much. Now to an absolutely fascinating story in rugby union. England captain Owen Farrell could still play in their Six Nations opener with Scotland, despite a 4-game ban for a dangerous tackle. This is after he made contact with the Gloucester forward Jack Clement's head with his shoulder on Friday. Let's bring in our rugby union reporter, Sarah Orchard. Sarah, exactly. Yeah. So his route to playing in that game is remarkably complicated.
Yeah, it really is. A very good evening to you, Steve. I don't think there is an administrator, a player or a fan or even Owen Farrell himself that doesn't want to crawl into bed right now and cover themselves in a duvet, such as the day that has been with this story. So bear with me. So yes, he was handed this 4-match ban late last night. We found out about it today, and it's a ban that can be reduced by 1 game if he goes to tackle school. So before we get to any of that, we should say that Owen Farrell, he pleaded guilty in his disciplinary last night. He showed remorse. Apparently, he contacted Jack Clement as soon as he realised that this had happened. He said he didn't realise in the moment itself that he'd actually made contact with Clement's head. He thought he'd made contact with his chest. And as soon as he realised what had happened, he did make contact and apologised to him. So that's why it was considered a mid-range offence. It's normally a 6-game ban. But because of all those things I've just said, they reduced it down to 3. But because Farrell does have previous, 1 more game was added back on to make it 4. You go to tackle school, it comes back to 3. But that's just the start of the story, Steve. Because the 3 games that were listed on the judgment, they're all games for Saracens. That's Owen Farrell's club side. So that's 2 European games and 1 game in the Premiership. Now, that last game in the Premiership is the problem because Steve Borthwick, the England head coach, he's going to name an England squad for the Six Nations on Monday. If Owen Farrell is named in that squad, he normally would not play in that Premiership game against Bristol. He'd normally be on England duty. So there is this big grey area about what is the third meaningful game that Owen Farrell will have to serve. Will it be that game against Bristol, which is why some people are saying this is very shady, or will it be the England-Scotland game?
Is this a bit of a fudge?
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of many other words. I've already used the likes of loophole and farcical. These are just words that I've seen on social media and in the press today already. As much as we're saying that, I think it's also a big hospital pass to the new head coach, Steve Borthwick. He's been put in a really difficult situation now. And so much of what should be his first England announcement on Monday, which should be a really exciting time for him, is going to be dominated by this discussion. If he names Farrell in the squad, he could technically release Farrell back to his club side, Saracens, which he is allowed to do with the players that he selects for England in the Six Nations. If they need game time, he could say, well, I'll release him back to Saracens. He's releasing him back to a club he can't play for because he's got to serve a ban. It's so complicated. We're sure it doesn't have to be like this, but this is the situation Borthwick has been handed. Arguably, if he takes the moral high ground, he will say a third meaningful game will be the England-Scotland game. So there is still a chance that Farrell will not play in that Six Nations opener.
And I've been trying desperately to get my head around the concept of tackle school, because I think for fans of most other sports, the idea that you can have a suspension reduced for being sorry and watching some videos sounds odd. Is it effectively like, you know, a lot of people will know what a speed awareness course. If somebody speeds, but it's sort of mid-range speeding, they can go to a location and watch some videos and behave well and not get any points on your licence?
Sort of. And I would say to everyone, do go and download the latest Rugby Union Weekly podcast, because Ugo Monye, Chris Ashton, Danny Kerr do discuss this, because they've seen other people go through tackle school. So essentially what happens is if you receive a red card, you are given this option that you can go to tackle school. It's actually got a far more complicated name than that. It's called a World Rugby Intervention Programme. And what you do is you have to have time away from your team with one of your coaches and have a session that is filmed with that coach where they are coaching you essentially to tackle lower, and you have to have conversations with the coach. The coach has to relay to you what you're doing, you have to relay back what you're doing, and then that video is then sent to World Rugby, who approve if you have or haven't passed your tackle course. That is tackle school.
That is amazing. Has he been, do we know if he's been before? I mean, can you go to multiple times?
Do you know what? It has only actually been brought this in recent years, and I don't think Owen Farrell went to tackle school last time he had his ban in 2020. I would have to check that, but I'm pretty confident I don't think he did on the last occasion, because the last time he had a ban like this for tackling was back in 2020. That was actually a high range offence, because you have these different levels. So there's low, which is a 2-game ban. There's mid, which is what has happened this time with 6 games, and then there's high, which is 10 games. That was reduced to 5 last time, and it was kept at 5. And it would have been reduced to 3 this time and gone down to 2 with tackle school had it not been for Farrell's previous misdemeanour.
Fascinating.
Are you keeping up, Steve?
Yeah, I am. No, it's fascinating. And do go and download the Rugby Union Weekly podcast, but only after you've listened to full commentary of the second half from St Mary's. John Murray.
Thank you, Steve. So the second half just getting underway here. And what a prospect this is. What a situation in this Carabao Cup quarter-final. Southampton, bottom of the Premier League, leading 2-0 against the Premier League champions Manchester City. And Pep Guardiola has reacted at half-time by making a triple substitution. Here is one of those men, De Bruyne, who immediately plays the ball through to Alvarez, who shoots across the face of goal. Well, there was a yawning gap to Bazunu's right. Alvarez tried to find it, but he dragged his shot wide to the far post.
Yeah, they've got their craftsman on. Kevin De Bruyne, it's a wonderful pass. Alvarez was onside. I think he takes the shot very, very early. It's always curling away beyond that far post, so he's hit that right-footed Alvarez. And I suppose both of us were thinking at half-time, John, whether Haaland would come on, but Alvarez really, starved of service in that first half. We're a few seconds into the second half, De Bruyne are on, and he gets a pass exactly where he'd want it. One-on-one, the angle against him, but that was an opportunity, and he should be hitting the target. He didn't do. Chance gone for Manchester City, but a warning to Southampton.
So that is Chris Sutton with us here on 5 Live, Premier League winner, Cup winner as well. Southampton leading 2-0, and those 3 changes, Kevin De Bruyne coming on, Manuel Akanji at the back, and Nathan Ake at left back. So off Kyle Walker, Sergio Gomez and Cole Palmer. And already with that ball that Kevin De Bruyne played through, that's the kind of thing that was sorely lacking from Manchester City in the first half. Southampton, as you'd expect, are as they were at the start of the match. So Bazunu in goal, back four of Lianco, Chaleta Tsar, Salisu and Walker-Peters, then Lavia and Diallo, Gineppo on the right, Ward-Prowse in this advanced role in the middle, Adam Armstrong on the left, and Mara as the main striker, the centre forward through the middle. And the goal scored by Mara, his first for Southampton, and Gineppo, his first for almost 2 years. The Manchester City team now, I'll run you through in a moment, but here's Lavia through to Mara, edge of the area, couldn't take the ball on, and as a result Laporte was able to come across and nip it away from him. And now Gundogan as Manchester City come forward, but Southampton have two men there, two defenders, and it's turned and cleared away by Salisu near the left corner of his own penalty area. So Manchester City now, Ortega in goal, Cancelo, Akanji, Laporte and Ake. Ball to the edge of the Southampton box, that's cleared away by Lianco. And then Calvin Phillips in centre field, Kevin De Bruyne, Foden, Gundogan, Grealish and Alvarez. So 3 changes from Pep Guardiola. Let's see what difference that is going to make. Manchester City have got a lot to do here. 2-0 down. The rain has eased during the half-time break. Well, we certainly still have rain in the air, light drizzle at the moment, as opposed to torrential clouds of rain. And Southampton in the white shirts with the red stripe down the front, black shorts and white socks, playing from right to left towards the northern end, the quite sparsely populated northern end. It's a cup quarter-final that hasn't captured the imagination because of the situation Southampton are in, but they have very much belied that. And here's Lavia near the edge of the box. He's done well against his former club, the 19-year-old. Played into the box for Ward-Prowse to chase, but he can't get there. There was defender Cancelo going with him, and it curled through all the way for a goal kick.
Yeah, you mentioned Romeo Lavia. He's been outstanding so far this evening, and of course he's missed large part of this season through injury. Having him back in the team, Southampton will be a better team for it. They've got to keep their level of performance up, because it will be a different City. It has been a different City already in the early stages of this second half.
Made only 2 senior competitive appearances for Manchester City, Romeo Lavia. Here's Adam Armstrong now cutting in from the left-hand side and hitting a shot which spins across the surface of the St Mary's pitch. It was actually picking up spray on the way, I could see it, and it rolled wide by 4 or 5 yards left of the post. But again, this confidence from Southampton. Whatever he's done tonight, Nathan Jones, whatever that win against Crystal Palace in the Cup has done for them, the fact that they're playing against Manchester City, the fact that they're 1 match away from the semi-finals, well, they've produced a performance this evening. But Manchester City are a wounded beast here.
Yeah, they've produced a performance so far. And Pep will not want his team to go out at a whimper. They were so poor in that first half. Just in the early stages of this second half, we've seen a couple of passes from De Bruyne. Southampton will have to be watchful. Obvious thing to say, John. Next goal.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if Bazunu has actually had a save to make yet.
I don't think he has. There was the Alvarez start of the second half. Cole Palmer had an effort blocked in the first half, and Gundogan with the shot, which he didn't hit the target.
Yeah. So 2-0 to Southampton. Nottingham Forest still leading Wolves by 1-0. They're ahead of us in Nottingham. 7:45 kick-off that one, 8 o'clock kick-off here. And Manchester City with the ball in their own half. Oh, there's been another goal in the other quarter-final. Alistair Bruce Ball.
Equaliser for Wolves. It's come just after the hour mark. Raul Jimenez couldn't miss at the far post. Nicely worked by Wolves down the right-hand side. Double change work for Lopetegui as well. Mateus Cunha, one of the players to come on. It was his cross from the right. Jimenez stuck it away. Forest 1, Wolves 1.
So 1-1. Commentary on that on Sports Extra with Pete Mullenstein and Clinton Morrison. So 1-1. Wolves. What about that on Saturday night, Chris? Wolves at Anfield against Liverpool. The whole, what a carry-on that was.
Yeah, they made a complaint, Wolves.
Yes,
there.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Phillips in the centre circle. No VAR at all tonight, if you weren't listening in the first half. Ake, long and high towards the edge of the area. That's headed out to De Bruyne on the edge of the box. Southampton are there in numbers. Foden's able to play it across. Cleared away though by Chaleta Tsar. And Southampton take it to the halfway line. Strong though from Akanji against Mara. Phil Foden now on the right hand side with De Bruyne having come on. And Ake, Nathan Ake, playing the ball out towards the left. Grealish is there. Grealish just opens his body, gives it back to Gundogan. Square from Gundogan to Kevin De Bruyne, who's got time here to take it down, clip it into the box and hit the back of the defender Salisu on the edge of the penalty area. City, their supporters in their thousands behind that goal at the Chapel stand, shouting for a handball, but I think it did just strike him on the back. Still Manchester City in possession, and they're in a groove now. City, this is shaping up. If it carries on like this, only 7 minutes played in the second half, this could be a long second half for Southampton to try and hold out.
Yeah, but they've got 2 goals ahead, something major to hang on to. They've just gone up a level, City, as we expected them to. Bringing De Bruyne on, Foden out on that right-hand side now.
Oh, what a pass from Phillips to Foden, who brilliantly took it down, gives it back to De Bruyne. Alvarez in the middle, tried to get a flick on that. There were defenders as well, they did enough. Couldn't get a clean contact and the ball just bounced up and down for goalkeeper Bazunu to come out and collect.
It was a terrific pass from Phillips, raking 50-60 yards. Foden took it so well, then pops the ball back to De Bruyne, who whips across it. Salisu defends it well.
And there's a player down on the far side for Southampton, and there's a little bit of pushing and shoving there. Grealish went across, and Peter Banks has walked over there,
down, isn't it?
Yeah, Djenepo has gone down. He's flat on his face on the far side of the pitch, and this, just for you to see, this was off the ball, and we've got a tiny little screen here.
Well, we don't have VAR, but there's a coming together, isn't there? Grealish,
way off the ball.
Grealish and Djenepo, and Grealish.
Well, Grealish is saying that he is effectively saying with his body language that Djenepo has made a great deal of that.
Well, that wouldn't be like Djenepo to make a great deal of things, John.
What, after his dive in the first half, you mean?
I think Grealish is a little bit naughty there. Just shoulder, uses his right shoulder and bumps Djenepo.
You've done well to see that on that screen.
I've got one good eye, John.
Well, Djenepo has stayed down, and Southampton look as though they're going to make a change, actually.
With my good eye, looks like Adams is getting stripped.
Yeah, the top scorer for Southampton this season.
There's a few getting stripped.
Yeah, double change.
Could be a triple change. And Haaland for City is poised, or is he poised, or is he going to warm up? Shirt on.
Romain Perrault is coming on, and yes, Haaland is coming on. 10 minutes into the second half. This is going to make things interesting, isn't it? For the neutrals in here, like you and me, Chris. So Adams and Perrault coming on for Southampton. So it looks as though they've decided, that I have to apologise to Djenepo, because whatever the contract from Jack Grealish, it looks as though he's not going to be able to continue. But first of all, it is Manchester City who make the change, and it's Grealish who is called off. He sprints off the field, and here comes Erling Haaland. And the Manchester City supporters give him their full backing as Haaland trots onto the field, rather ominously so.
It looks like now City have gone to 3 centre-halves. Haaland up alongside Alvarez, but Southampton immediately with that change. 3 centre-halves. Yanko, Chaleta Sarr and Salisu. Kyle Walker-Peters has gone over to right wing-back. And Perrault going on that left-hand side, left wing-back.
So Grealish off and Haaland on, the man who has scored 27 goals in 22 appearances in all competitions so far for Manchester City. And as I've said a number of times over the course of the last few days, whenever Haaland has not scored in a match for Manchester City, he has scored in the next one. And he didn't score last time he played against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge last Thursday. So he's on, and Adams did not come on, did he? Adams is not on yet. Long ball forward from City, from Akanji, but Bazunu's able to come out to the edge of the area and collect it. Southampton goalkeeper.
And City have just changed things a little bit. Foden now has gone over to the left-hand side, started the second half on that right-hand side. So they are at back three. Cancelo in that right wing-back role we saw him play at Stamford Bridge.
So Phil Foden in this match has played centrally, then on the right for 12 minutes of the second half, and now he's on the left. And here's Kyle Walker-Peters, who's switched across to the right side for Southampton, with Perrault coming onto the field. And Gineppo, incidentally, seems okay. He's been able to walk all the way around the pitch in front of the Manchester City fans, actually, and then he's been given a terrific ovation. He's the man who scored the second goal for Southampton tonight. Beautifully finished, actually. And now he's getting another ovation as well. He's made the most of that. They've given him a coat, a black Southampton coat, and he's got that on, and he's going to take a set. And high fives from as well. What a departure that is.
Oh, what a goal.
What a goal.
What an impact he's made this evening.
So just over half an hour to go. This is 5 Live and BBC Sounds. It's been a really eventful, actually really enjoyable cup tie to watch so far this evening here at St Mary's. The ground far from full, maybe 25,000, maybe less than that inside St Mary's. Big backing from Manchester City supporters. And Lianco, giving it away on the halfway line with a flick.
That's the last thing you want your right centre half to be doing.
He is Brazilian, though.
Well,
Cancelo to De Bruyne. Cancelo then forward towards Haaland, who tried to flick it on, and that was good from Chaleta Tsar, who dived in. And now the ball in centre field with Diallo, and Diallo releases Walker-Peters. Go on, Kyle, they shout into the area, up against Ake. Walker-Peters still in possession. He's forced by Ake out into the full-back area. He gets it back from Diallo, and Walker-Peters, a little glance from Adam Armstrong, couldn't get enough on that. Mara was in the middle, but Manchester City were able to clear. And Southampton, their supporters dreaming of what if Southampton were able to get a third goal. And Perrault now bringing it forward, but Cancelo puts in the challenge and it's out for a throw.
Yeah, great driving run down that right-hand side from Kyle Walker-Peters. Ake kept up with him, then Kyle Walker-Peters patient enough to come back out, little give and go, cross in, and Armstrong couldn't quite get on the end of it. Here comes Adams and El Yunusi. So Nathan Jones making more changes, fresh legs.
He's made just the one so far. It looked as though he was going to make a double change. Thought again, with City making their changes, and here they come. Here come the changes straight away now. And Romeo Lavia is having to go off, and he's got a problem. Oh, what a blow that is for Southampton. He's played tremendously well in this match today. As Chris mentioned, he's been injured this season, his first with Southampton after moving from Manchester City. He's had a hamstring problem which kept him out for most of the autumn, and he's having to leave the field now.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't know, but he's not moving very well. What we do know, though, is that Southampton are in a relegation battle, bottom of the table, and they will need Romeo Lavia to play most of the games if they want to get out of trouble, because he's such an important part of this team. El Yunusi will come on. It's not like for like, so it will be interesting whether they tweak things now. El Yunusi more of a forward-thinking player, and Adams has gone on up top, so Mara comes off. That's a straight swap.
Yep. So the two goal scorers for Southampton have now been substituted, and Shea Adams, their top scorer this season. But Southampton in the box, and El Yunusi very nearly lifted it over Akanji, a bit like Gaza at Euro 96 all those years ago, but Akanji was just able to jump up and nod it away. And another change coming from Manchester City with Rodri will be the next player to come onto the field. Adam Armstrong pulls the ball down, but Akanji was able to beat him to that, and then Ortega very nearly closed down by Adam Armstrong, who continued his run. And Manchester City have it on the left-hand side with Ake, who I thought might have been fouled over there by Ward-Prowse. He was, and so he has the change, and that's it for Calvin Phillips, who is going to sprint off the field to be replaced by Rodri. Well, it was his first start in a competitive match for Manchester City, and 2-0 down against Southampton. That's not what he will have dreamed of for his first impact as a starter for Pep Guardiola's Manchester City team.
No, it was always going to be difficult for him. Clearly not up to speed, getting his opportunity tonight against a really aggressive Southampton team. Pep talking about improvements which he needs to make to get at Rodri's level. Now his superior Rodri has come on in the hope that Manchester City can get back into this game.
Fascinatingly poised. We've got just under half an hour to go here at St Mary's. Southampton are knocking out Manchester City in this Carabao Cup quarter-final. But Haaland is on, De Bruyne is on, and here is De Bruyne. El-Yunusi slides in on him. Fair challenge, says referee Banks, and the ball's out of play, although City, certainly Phil Foden suggesting that it wasn't, but it's out of play and it is given as a throw-in to Southampton. So 2-0 Southampton lead here. What about the other quarter-final tonight? Nottingham Forest Wolves, still 1-1 with you, Alistair Bruce Ball?
It is 7:45 kickoff, 15 minutes to play, 15 minutes away from a penalty shootout, now being played in the pouring rain. Adama Traore has just been thrown on by Yulen Lopetegui to spice things up. Raul Jimenez equaliser in the second half. Forest 1, Wolves 1.
The home supporters here getting right behind their team. They've seen them have some notable cup victories this season, although to get this far Southampton have knocked out 3 League One sides. This is a completely different matter in the Carabao Cup against the team that has dominated this competition over the course of most of the last decade. Only Liverpool have a better record over the years. The record winners, the 9 times record winners, than Manchester City, who've now won it 8 times. But they're facing an exit here in the last 8. Rodri for Manchester City. Gundogan plays it away, deep inside Manchester City's own half. Up it goes towards Haaland, who stuck out a leg, but it was played forward by Liang Cole. And now El-Yunusi tried to go between 2 City men. Laporte, though, was able to get a touch on that. Gundogan, and then, Alvarez wasn't able to take it in his stride, and Southampton come again, and El-Yunusi scoops it forward, and here's Shea Adams. Shea Adams turns, gives it out to Walker-Peters, who pulls it down on the far side of the penalty area. Ake closes him down. Walker-Peters crosses into the shins of Ake. It bounces back to Walker-Peters in the area. He shoots low, and Adams couldn't get a touch on the edge of the 6-yard box. He was on his heels, and the shot come cross from Walker-Peters, flashed across the 6-yard box and out.
Yeah, is that really awful from Kevin De Bruyne? Back to goal, tries to pop the ball back to Phil Foden, inadvertently pokes it to Kyle Walker-Peters, who fires a cross shot across, and Adams didn't anticipate it well enough on his heels.
Mind you, he might have been offside if he'd been able to put it in the net, although of course
you don't have VAR.
Maybe the assistant wouldn't have spotted it, but I think he would. Well, you never know. Here's El-Yunusi curling the ball harmlessly into the Manchester City box. Southampton 2, Manchester City 0. Southampton, who go to Everton on Saturday. Manchester City, who go to Manchester United on Saturday at lunchtime. We'll keep you across that match on 5 Live Sport on Saturday afternoon, when the commentary, Ian Dennis, will be down in Brighton, down in this part of the world, for Brighton's game against Liverpool. That's the Saturday 3 o'clock commentary. The 5:30 commentary on 5 Live is Brentford against Bournemouth. And amongst all of our matches on Sunday, Tottenham against Arsenal. Don't miss that, as El-Yunusi takes the ball down the left wing and is impeded. He's fouled by Cancelo. Free kick to Southampton. And we've got just over a quarter of the match to go, Chris Sutton.
Yep, and El-Yunusi just playing in a central role alongside Ward-Prowse and Diallo being the sitter in there. They're playing two up top, Armstrong and Adams, but just a bit of a breather for Southampton. I say a bit of a breather. It's not like Manchester City have been totally dominant in this second half. Got to say I'm surprised by the nature of some of Pep's substitutions. You know, why not get Haaland on at half-time and sort of wait 5 or 10 minutes into the second half and then bring him on.
Free kick then, Ward-Prowse to take it from way out on the left. It's headed across by Chalata-Sarr, then nodded away by Rodri, didn't clear the penalty area. Lianco's herring around there, and he gets there ahead of Ake, and then he crosses, and it takes a deflection, and it falls to De Bruyne on the edge of the box. And now Rodri will play it to the right. Gundogan in space, still inside his own half, passes it to Alvarez on the right-hand side, and the Argentine World Cup winner has a look up, but Southampton have got men back. All of those white shirts with the big red stripe down the front are back in position, and Manchester City have got to check back again and in fact go back into their own half. Well played, Southampton.
Yeah, the recovery runs absolutely top draw. I know they've got something to hold on to.
So City try again, this time on the left hand side. Foden with a cross, and Haaland sticks out his left leg. I don't know how he got there. Like Rudolf Nureyev. And it came off his left foot and hooked up and over the top of the crossbar. Must do Tai Chi or something.
That's amazing agility. Really is. Foden just stands the ball up and his enormous left limb.
Oh, it's made my eyes water.
Blimey, yeah.
Well, it's a goal kick. Southampton 2, Manchester City 0. What's happening in Nottingham, Alistair Bruce Ball?
Wolves on the attack, more drama here. Nottingham Forest have hit the post. Would have been an own goal off Nelson Semedo after Dennis and Colback have played a 1-2. That's Emmanuel Dennis, not Ian Dennis. Forest 1, Wolves 1, 10 minutes to play.
One thing I know is Ian Dennis couldn't have done what Erling Haaland just did. If he did, he'd have a week in intensive care.
More than a week. That's a year. I mean, that's...
Yeah, mind you, they get you out very quickly these days. Southampton 2, Manchester City 0.
He must do yoga every single day.
Ian Dennis? I don't think he does.
Blimey. Just once would be enough for Ian Dennis.
Let's finish him off. Downward dog. Just throw in to Southampton, halfway inside the Manchester City half. Perrault is going to take this, and 20 minutes to go. And El-Yunusi finds Ward-Prowse on the edge of the box, and here's Walker-Peters. Walker-Peters, a packed penalty area, and he shoots straight into the shins, the knees of Laporte, and it bounces out for a throw-in on the far side.
Should have got a shot off earlier. They work it really well. Throw in. Adams played the ball inside around the corner. Actually poked out to the right-hand side. Ward-Prowse and Walker-Peters should have got a shot off. Eventually blocked. But I tell you what, Manchester City, you said it earlier. How many saves has Bazunu had to make?
Well, I'm not sure he's made one.
No.
Still. Might be time yet though. Haaland comes back into his own half, then it's played forward, and those Manchester City players in yellow and grey are powering forward in all directions. De Bruyne plays it in, Bazunu dives forward and gets there ahead of the run of Haaland, and the Southampton goalkeeper has got the ball safely in his gloves on the ground.
Oh, that was really slick from Manchester City. Ball fizzed out to the left-hand side and then played beautifully across to Kevin De Bruyne. He always does it, doesn't he? Gets his head up right-hand side of the box and looks for Haaland, who's so good at peeling off the back of defenders, and he makes that run, and Bazunu had to be alert. Comes off his line quickly and pounces on the ball on the 6-yard line.
Nathan Ake is all over the back of El-Yunusi. They wanted a free kick, it's not been given, and actually it's Manchester City who've won the free kick. But that movement as City came forward there, I mean, they were coming from all directions. That is ominous. I've not seen movement like that since the Qatar Air Force before the World Cup final. Those jets.
That was considerable, wasn't it? That was lengthy.
Yeah. Ake playing the ball down the left-hand side to Foden, and Chalata-Sarr puts in the challenge there and puts it out of play. there's a bit of steel about this Southampton display. If they play like this, is the classic scenario, isn't it? When you watch a team that's struggling, then do well in the Cup. If they play like this every week in the Premier League, then they're not going to be bottom for long.
No, and Everton at the weekend. I do the BBC predictions, John. I'm suspecting this level of performance from Southampton.
Have you done it already?
No. Everton win at the weekend.
City with Foden. Still 1-1 between Nottingham Forest and Wolves, but still 2-0 to Southampton. They've led since the 28th minute by 2-0. We're now in the 73rd, and City are offside flag against Kevin De Bruyne. And thoughts here among the home supporters turning towards a 2-leg semi-final against, well, either Manchester United or Newcastle or Nottingham Forest or Wolves. Could be a penalty shootout coming during the latter stages of this, so don't go anywhere if you're with us on 5 Live or BBC Sounds. Free kick, Bazunu fires that downfield, lovely layoff by Adams. It's headed by Armstrong to the left hand side, and here's Perrault, and Perrault manages to find the cross to the edge of the box, but Gundogan comes across and is able to take it away, and then it's forward from Rodri, and it's headed out of play by Chaleta-Tsar. Would actually be a second semi-final in 3 seasons for Southampton, because they were in the FA Cup semi-final, if you remember, the season before last, the season Leicester won it, and Leicester beat them 1-0 at Wembley. And Ake is claiming that he was fouled. The ball's put out of play by Shea Adams, so it is a free kick. It's been brought back for that challenge on Ake. And actually, it would be a 4th semi-final in 7 seasons for Southampton. But Saints fans will be saying, don't get ahead of yourself. It is 2-0 though, which is a good lead heading into the last 15 minutes, and we're nearly there. The last 15 minutes of the 90. Gundogan, the German international, up towards Foden. Ake with the cross, aiming for Haaland, but Chaleta-Tsar was able to get up high and headed back out towards the far side. And Manchester City now parked inside Southampton territory in front of the Chapel stand. The Manchester City supporters hoping against hope that somehow they're going to be able to turn this around. Could be dramatic in the next 15 minutes. Here's a Kanji for City on the halfway line, but Adam Armstrong doing well against him, forcing him to turn and play it back to Ortega, who's way out of his penalty area. That was one of the problems tonight for Manchester City. Ortega being too far off his line when he conceded the second goal. 1 goal was one thing, but a 2-0 lead. However, Southampton had an awful lot to do to preserve it, and they have so far. Perrault concedes a throw-in 10 yards inside the Southampton half. The wind's beginning to get up again. I think we might have another squally rain shower coming. That's how it feels. It feels like the temperature's just dipped again as Cancelo throws the ball back into his own half. Akanji plays it across, and then Ake receives it over on the left-hand side. Looks for Gundogan, who comes short. This is well worked by Southampton. They know their jobs. Lianco came out of the back line there and followed Gundogan all the way. Now drops back in there as Gundogan receives it again. Foden on the left-hand side. Foden whips it across left-footed. It's headed up in the air by Salisu. Headed away by Chaleta-Tsar. Haaland with a touch. Gundogan on the edge of the penalty area. And then Southampton get a foot in. And El Yunusi's able to take it away nicely. And he gives it to Ward-Prowse. And now Manchester City having to chase back. With the ball in field, evaded Ward-Prowse. And Manchester City now start off on an attack of their own, and Foden plays it through to Haaland, but Bazunu's quickly out of his penalty area, and the Southampton goalkeeper has cleared it. He's actually passed it downfield to El Yunusi, who's able to run it out here to the left-hand side, and he's taken it away from Cancelo, and then he plays it infield to Armstrong, and Adam Armstrong, there's space on the right for Walker-Peters, who's into the Manchester City penalty area and still going. Ward-Prowse with a shot deflected. Adams puts it in, but no, the offside flag is up, and Southampton do not have a third goal.
Let's see how close that was. As the ball was pulled back to Ward-Prowse, gets his shot off it, takes a deflection, but Adams took a touch and popped it in, but the flag went up.
It stays 2-0. Southampton 2, Manchester City 0. Still Nottingham Forest 1, Wolves 1. That must be almost done, because we've got less than 15 minutes to play here at St Mary's on this blustery January night. The semi-final draw still to come. Gundogan, lovely, into the box, plays it across, a stretch, and Bazunu drops on it. Alvarez got a touch on it, but not enough, and the Southampton goalkeeper was able to dive down to his left and stop it on the line.
Oh, it's brilliant play from Manchester City. Little give and go. Gundogan to Foden, and a flick from Foden, and Gundogan left-footed slides the ball across the 6-yard line, and Alvarez stretching, straining, gets a right boot to the ball, and Bazunu, no pace on the ball, just drops on it, dives to his left-hand side, inches away from getting a goal back there, City.
It was a miss hit, really, wasn't it, from Alvarez? As Foden now again comes forward. Foden involved in that last move, but Southampton, 3 players on the ball there, and it's hit away downfield by Lianco. Just saw a replay just saw a replay of when Adams put the ball in the net and he was offside. It was the right decision. So 2-0 to Southampton. Back to the City ground. Alistair Bruce ball.
Forest 1, Wolves 1. 6 minutes of added time has just started. Julen Lopetegui, amongst others, has just been booked. Wolves felt they should have had a late penalty. Mateus Nunes went down in the box. Referee Graham Scott wasn't interested, but Ruben Neves then pointed out his boot had come off. Emmanuel Dennis trod on the back of his heel. It brought his boot off. There was contact. No penalty given. No VAR. Forest 1, Wolves 1.
VAR controversy involving Wolves, and another. He's picked up a few cards, hasn't he? Julen Lopetegui already.
Yeah. Feisty character.
Yes, he is, with his polo necks. Southampton leading.
Are they linked?
Maybe. Hot under the collar, Chris. Free kick from Manchester City on the left-hand side. Southampton got to be strong here, and it comes from Foden, headed away for Southampton. Big cheers from the home supporters. City though take up possession again. Rodri challenged by Adams. I thought that might have been a free kick. Rodri went down, no free kick. Cleared away by Perrault, and Manchester City with De Bruyne. De Bruyne, bouncing ball, but he's able to get underneath it and volley it down into the full-back position. Alvarez, I think was caught by a flailing arm there from Perrault. Went down holding his face. Roman Perrault does the classic get-up kind of gesture.
Yeah, Manchester City players doing the classic surround the referee.
Haaland.
I think he does get caught by Perrault's right fingers, but does he need to go down like that? I'm not so sure he does. And he maybe saw a finger in the eye though, John.
Yeah, I know that footballers, are adept, aren't they, at making the what appears not to be on purpose, but I think that was an accident from Perrault just flailing his arm, but he did catch him in the face. But he's okay, Alvarez. And we've now got 10 minutes to go, less than 10 minutes to go. They are just seconds away from penalties at the City ground to decide who goes into the semi-finals between Nottingham Forest and Wolves. But here's Ake now for Manchester City, down into the Southampton right-back area, but challenge from Lianco, who's been very good tonight. Lianco's involved in the goal, of course, the opening goal, and that breeze gets up again. Well, certainly Southampton have put the wind up Manchester City tonight. Here's Gundogan to the left-hand side to Foden. The crowd, the Southampton fans, trying to do their bit now. Foden to Gundogan. Manchester City, it's becoming a mini crisis in the match. De Bruyne curling it in, that's headed away by Lianco. Ake chips it across, comes off the head of Calata-Sarr. City still have it inside the Southampton box. Rodri on the edge of the area, headed forward by Alvarez, and Bazunu's going to be able to come across and grab the ball into his chest, and a Southampton fan to my right jumps to his feet and punches the air in relief.
Yeah, but when they've needed to in their second half, hasn't been that often, in fairness. The last-ditch defending has been very, very good. Calata-Sarr heading the ball up in the air, Salisu attacking the next one, and then Bazunu alert as ever. You think the empty seats in this stadium, the Southampton fans out there who are going to regret not coming here this evening. Not over yet, but what a performance.
It really has. This has to be the performance of the season from Southampton, which admittedly is not up against a great deal of competition. And Southampton making what is I think that's their fourth change, and it's a debut for the Croatian World Cup player Mislav Orsic, who scored in the third place playoff in Qatar, signed from Dinamo Zagreb, but he's been a much travelled footballer, but has done very well in recent seasons, and actually very well against English clubs in the various European competitions, including a hat-trick against Tottenham, remember that, in the Europa League, and then this season he scored the goal when Dinamo Zagreb beat Chelsea in what turned out to be Thomas Tuchel's final match in charge in the Champions League group. So Orsic is on for his debut. What a great situation for him to come into. Less than 10 minutes away from a glorious result for Southampton.
And he's taken up a position, they're defending at this moment in time. He'd just play off Adams, I think, drifted in around him as Armstrong did to good effect. They linked up well at times in this second half. Adams and Armstrong, Orsic to do the same. But now we're seeing a speed to Manchester City's passing and a purpose to the play. Where was this previously?
So Adam Armstrong is being cheered all the way around the ground, having been taken off. 2-0 Southampton lead, back to the City ground. Alistair Bruce Ball.
Closing seconds of added time. Rain continues to pour down. Referee Graham Scott looks at his watch. That's it. It finishes 1-1. The penalties grid is drawn up. Penalties to decide which of Nottingham Forest and Wolves will join Manchester United and Newcastle so far in the semi-finals of the League Cup. Penalties on the way at the City ground.
Rodri with the cross for Manchester City. Chested down. Well, taken down on his thigh by Liang Ko, in all honesty, and then cleared away. So what we'll be doing is we'll be hopping back and forth between the commentary here and Alistair Bruce Ball, who'll be watching the penalties at the City ground. So stand by for that. Could be dramatic here. It will be dramatic there. 2-0. Southampton going through. Manchester City going out. Akanji back to Laporte. But these big teams, these big players, Chris, you've been in those big teams. You've been one of those big players. It's amazing how often they're able to score late goals.
Yeah.
And Perrault running the ball out of play, conceding a throw-in.
Yeah, and Manchester City over the years, it's been a trademark, hasn't it, of their game, but just don't feel it this evening.
Like a foul throw by Cancelo, and that's two in the second half.
I mean, that's amateur hour, isn't it? Lianco trying to get the crowd up on the far side. He's been a big Brazilian brute, hasn't he, this evening? Defended superbly. Right back, he's in a back four in the first half now.
Less than 5 minutes to go, Chris. Less than 5 minutes to go.
They're comfortable, Southampton, aren't they? They really are. Didn't see this coming.
We did not. And Rodri just hammers it forward. A hoof, as some of the Southampton supporters suggest. Southampton winning a throw-in inside their own half of Alvarez. It's won by Diallo. Southampton's last win, you might remember it. I remember actually it was during lockdown when it was once Project Restart had begun, and I remember actually being in my car on my own listening to I think it was Ali Bruce Ball who described Shea Adams scoring from 40 yards to beat Manchester City, which was his first goal for Southampton. This would be their first win against Manchester City since then, back in 2020. Southampton defending here though. Cancelo playing it to the right hand side to De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne moves away from Perrault up to the edge of the penalty area, plays it square but beyond Ake to his left, so he has to allow the ball to run. Ake, though, has it for Manchester City. Gundogan comes short. Foden goes back, closer to the halfway line. Laporte is just trundling it forward, and then Laporte curls it in. Lianco was there to head it away. He's been like a magnet. It's strange how defenders have nights like that, where it seems almost as if the ball is attracted to them. Here's De Bruyne playing the ball to the right hand side to Cancelo. That's a good looking cross to the back post, but guess who's there? Lianco to head it away, comes out to Foden. Foden's ball in, Lianco heads it away again, nodded away by Diallo on the edge of the box. Back to City, played in from the angle. Haaland glanced but straight through to Bazunu, who's able to fall to his left and catch it.
Yeah, I don't think Haaland was offside. Let's have another look as the ball comes out. Rodri clips the ball and is onside, gets across the keeper's eye line. It's from the left hand side and the ball's whipped in. He just can't get enough of a touch on it, Haaland.
Still 2-0. Now to the City ground. Ali.
First up in the penalty shootout for a place in the League Cup semi-finals, Nottingham Forest young striker Sam Surridge. Ruben Neves won the toss. The penalties are being taken in front of the away fans, away to our right in the Bridgeford stand. There are Nottingham Forest fans at that end as well that have all been chanting Dino at Dean Henderson. Their penalty saving expert in goal. Here's Surridge with his right foot. What a save! Jose Sarr, that was heading for the top corner. He's palmed it away, and so Wolves strike first in the penalty shootout. Surridge's effort is saved, and now Ruben Neves will go next.
Back with you shortly, Ali. Still 2-0 here. We've got 90 seconds of the 90 minutes to play, and it's Southampton who break forward with Shea Adams. Adams, though, is not going gung-ho, even though Walker Peters has sprinted 50 yards. He wanted the pass and then looks to the heavens above St Mary's because it didn't come. Sensible play from Southampton. Back to Ali.
Ruben Neves to take Wolves' first penalty, having won the toss. Dean Henderson on the goal line, all in blue. Short run from Neves here. Oh, it's saved! Both penalties missed at the start of the shootout. Surridge and Neves have seen them saved. 0-0. One penalty taken apiece.
It's going to be one of those penalty shootouts, is it? 2-0 Southampton lead. We're in the 90th minute now, and it looks as though this is going to be the end of the road for Manchester City in this competition this season. Having knocked out Chelsea and the holders Liverpool, they're coming unstuck here at Southampton against the Premier League's bottom club. Ali.
Can someone score a penalty? The Wolves fans trying to put Remo Freuler off. Next up, good penalty. He strikes first for Nottingham Forest. They're off the mark. They've scored 1 from 2. Wolves up next. It'll be Daniel Pedence.
Back at St Mary's. Akanji with a cross to the edge of the Southampton box. That's cleared away, and Southampton win a free kick. A foul on their captain, James Ward-Prowse, who looks like it might have been quite a heavy knock actually, although we are now going into 6 minutes of added time, and James Ward-Prowse is not hurrying getting to his feet. In fact, he was half up there and went back down. So back to the penalty shootout in Nottingham.
Daniel Pedence up for Wolves. Nottingham Forest lead 1-0. They've taken 2. Wolves have taken 1. Dean Henderson's just been talking to Pedence, who scores. I think Henderson got a touch into the roof of the net. It is 1-1. Both teams have scored 1. Both teams have missed 1. John.
Still Ward-Prowse is getting back to his feet, so play has not resumed here in added time. But it looks as though those first half goals from Mara and Gineppo are going to do the trick for Nathan Jones, Chris Sutton.
Yeah, absolutely. Bazunu taking his time. He hasn't had too much to do this evening. I mean, it's been a near perfect performance, hasn't it, from Southampton?
Come in, Nottingham.
1-1 in the shootout, Nottingham Forest Wolves. The rain continues to tumble down. Joe Worrell, the Nottingham Forest skipper, up next. Jose Sarr has delayed him. He jumps twice on his line and makes the crossbar rattle as he touches it. Referee Graham Scott blows the whistle. 1-1 in the shootout at the moment. This is Nottingham Forest's third penalty. Here comes Joe Worrell. It's a good one down the middle. 2-1 Nottingham Forest. Wolves to go next.
Oh, Southampton have got the ball back on the edge of the City area. El Yunusi now shooting, but Cancelo dived in. Still Southampton though. Ball is played to Perrault on the left-hand side. Perrault back to Ward-Prowse, who Finds Perrault again. His left-footed ball in is laid back to the edge of the penalty area, where Orsic on his debut was thinking of the absolute glory there, but by the time he got the ball under control, it was blocked away. And Walker-Peters in no hurry on the far side. So back to the shootout, Ali.
Mateus Nunes thought he should have had a penalty late in the game, has stuck this one away into the top corner. So Nottingham Forest and Wolves missed their first penalty apiece. They've now scored 2 apiece. It's 2-2, and Morgan Gibbs-White, former Wolves man, is next up for Forest.
Well played from Walker-Peters here. He's cannily won a free kick. He was shoved over by Alvarez. Free kick to Forest.
Perrault is going berserk at El Yunusi, because when El Yunusi cut inside and had a shot that was eventually blocked in his right foot, Perrault was standing in so much space left hand side. Would have had an easy tap in, I think, an easy chance.
Back to Ali.
Morgan Gibbs-White for Nottingham Forest, 2-2 in the shootout. Both teams have taken 3 apiece. Wolves fans again trying to put him off. Gibbs-White is standing directly behind the ball, now jogs to his left. Here he comes, stutter run, leaps in the air. Oh, and he finds the corner. Good penalty, nearly saved by Jose Sarr, but not. 3-2 to Gibbs-White, and Gibbs-White then sticks his fingers in the ears and gestures to the Wolves fans.
Against his former club, Nottingham Forest. So back there in a moment or two. Southampton had that free kick on the far side. I thought they'd take it to the corner flag, but they didn't. They did take it short, but now they've got it down there, and actually they've won a corner. Shea Adams, well played, knocked it into the defender. It's Phil Foden who was back there, so it's a corner to Southampton, and they're not going to be in any hurry to take this. So back to Nottingham. Ali.
3-2 Nottingham Forest, 4th penalty for Wolves. Mateus Cunha takes this one. If he misses, Forest will have a chance to win it with the next one. What a penalty! Nothing that Dean Henderson could do about that. 3-3 in the shootout, and we're heading to the 5th penalty for each team. Jack Colback next for Forest. John.
We're in the 4th of 6 minutes of added time, and Southampton are parked deep inside Manchester City territory, and they take this corner. They take it short, and it's come off Ake and bounced behind, and James Ward-Prowse strolls across as though he's having a little stroll in East Park in the middle of Southampton, and taps the ball into the hoardings and is taking his time over this corner. Ali.
Big roar for Jack Colback's penalty, left-footed, down the middle. Jose Sarr dived to his left, and now the pressure is on young Joe Hodge stepping forward for Wolves. If he misses, Nottingham Forest are in the semi-finals, and Joe Hodge is on his way to the penalty spot. John.
I think you can keep it, Ali, for that, because City have got the ball deep inside their own half. Come in, Ali.
Sudden death. He looks like he's in a little bit of a hurry, Joe Hodge. He's marched to the penalty spot quickly. Has to score this for Wolves to take it to sudden death. Save by Dean Henderson. He goes racing off to celebrate with the Nottingham Forest fans away to his right-hand side. His teammates in the Nottingham Forest shirts come running towards him, and poor little Joe Hodge has missed the crucial 5th penalty for Wolves. 1-1 it finishes on the night, and Nottingham Forest win the shootout. Dean Henderson making 2 incredible saves for Nottingham Forest. Forest into a major cup semi-final for the first time since 1992. They beat Wolves 4-3 on penalties. John.
More on that to come on 5 Live Sport tonight before 10:30. You'll hear all of the drama as well, and the interviews and the reaction on the 5 Live Football Daily podcast in the morning as well. And Southampton are very nearly there here at St Mary's too. Manchester City can make no impact. They can barely get the ball out of their own half. Southampton have played this brilliantly, Chris Sutton.
They have. Southampton have deserved this. They've been the better team throughout.
And now they're attacking again. They're attacking again down the right-hand side with Walker-Peters, but that's it! What an upset! What a turn-up! What a night for Southampton and for Nathan Jones, who turns to Pep Guardiola and shakes hands. He's the winner. Guardiola's the loser tonight. And he's actually gone across again there, Nathan Jones to Pep Guardiola, just put his hand on his back, and they've exchanged another word or two between them. But it's Southampton's night. Manchester City out in the quarter-finals.
Southampton absolutely brilliant this evening. Gotta say that Nathan Jones, you felt he needed a result like this, a performance like this against one of the big boys. They don't get much tougher, but they deserved it. Played with greater intensity, were brave, really brave on the ball in the first half. A couple of quality goals, and do you know what, second half I think we both thought it would be Manchester City, that they'd make changes, they'd come, they'd push Southampton back and be dominant. Southampton really coped very well in the second half. Zunu barely had a shot to save, and they go through to the semi-finals. Incredible performance, incredible result, but deservedly so for Southampton and Nathan Jones.
The City players are going across to their support, which has been magnificent incidentally down here, thousands of them, the City supporters. Erling Haaland, first time he's gone 2 consecutive matches for City, even though he was not brought on until, what was it, maybe 10 minutes into the second half, Erling Haaland, and the City players will walk away, so there will certainly be no quadruple this season. That has ended for Manchester City, beaten here in the quarter-finals, no League Cup run to the semi-final or the final in this competition that has served them so well over the course of the last decade or so. And instead, it's Southampton who follow Nottingham Forest into tonight's semi-final draw this evening. And if Southampton play like they've played tonight, well, they won't be at the bottom of the Premier League for long, Chris Sutton.
No, absolutely not. And you know, talk negativity even at the weekend from Southampton support about the performance. You know, a long ball team, some of the Southampton fans said when they went away and beat Crystal Palace in the FA Cup. You just feel that Nathan Jones needed a performance like this to get the Southampton fans believing. A lot of empty seats in the stadium tonight, and you know, for Southampton to get a win against a quality team like Manchester City, that's a big deal, and they will be hoping to build on this performance, stay in the Premier League, and who knows, win a cup as well.
And let's just see him here. Nathan Jones is coming across, and the fans in front of us in the Itchen stand here are applauding him. They're applauding the still relatively new Southampton manager, all in black, and he applauds them back and disappears down the tunnel after what's been a great 5 days for him, knocking Crystal Palace out of the FA Cup at the weekend, and now here knocking Manchester City out of the Carabao Cup and taking Southampton into the semi-finals. 2-0 they've won.
What a remarkable night of League Cup drama. We're on through till 10:30, so we've got plenty of time to bring you all of the reaction. Chris Sutton, I kept my eyes then on Nathan Jones after he had his 2 chats with Pep Guardiola. He put his hand over his mouth. He looked like he'd gone 12 rounds. He looked like he was wondering, what have we just done? But they deserve it and then some.
Yeah, you know, I think you're right. A remarkable night, a remarkable performance. Where has this performance come from for Southampton, who have, you know, been pretty insipid under Nathan Jones so far? And they come up against Manchester City. Okay, Manchester City made changes, but they were brave all evening, bold on the ball. They were courageous. They passed the ball brilliantly. They got themselves in front. Mara scored a superb first goal. Took it so well. This is a guy who hasn't scored for Southampton this season so far. The second goal, we can talk about Ortega sort of showing Gineppo the chip and offering him too much. He still has to execute the chip, and he did that brilliantly. But then, as I said, going into the second half, I thought that City would respond, bring the big guns on. They did that. But Southampton, you know, they saw the game through pretty comfortably, and you know what, arguably could have gone further ahead, had the better opportunities. But this has to be the start now for Nathan Jones. I think that before the game we had the fan on, I think Nick he was called, and you know that there were doubters about him coming into the job, whether you know he was big enough and good enough for the job. This will do him the absolute world of good now, and hopefully the Southampton support will get behind him. But they've got to go to Everton at the weekend now, and they have to back it up. That is the key.
And the other thing, John Murray, I think Nathan Jones' facial expression said was, I needed that.
Well, there's no mistaking that. I mean, he's in the match programme tonight, his column, his address to the fans, it started with the words, "Dear supporters," which, I have to say, when I saw that, I did think, is that slightly tongue-in-cheek? But I'm sure it was sincerely felt. And he said in the first paragraph that it would be an exciting cup tie against Manchester City here this evening.
Did he believe that, do you think?
I think any fans, Southampton fans, might have looked at that and thought, will it be? Will it really be? Well, it was.
But I think, Chris, this is the thing about Nathan Jones. When you listen to him, and from the sound of it, when you read his programme notes, he has a certain kind of odd way about him, and that can go one of two ways. And maybe we haven't seen the real Nathan Jones yet, but the way he talks and the way he speaks, these kind of performances are what you need to back it up.
Yeah, we've just seen Franny Benali's just come up and shaken my hand and John's hand. I don't think he can believe this Southampton performance this evening. Do you know what though? It's like any manager going into into any job. The guy needs time, and you think about what he took over. He took over a club in an absolute mess. That's why he got the job, and he's had a tricky start. First game up away against Liverpool. The game which really sort of did for him, and where the negativity really set in, was the defeat against Nottingham Forest, a relegation rival at home, where they didn't get a shot on target. And then he needed the result at the weekend. There was still a lack of belief, but tonight I think it was one of those games which Southampton fans will remember for a long time. And this will be Nathan Jones thinking and hoping that this is the beginning now. But as I said a couple of minutes ago, he has to now back it up with the performance against Everton. I thought Lavia was superb for them this evening. And I just, I'm hoping that he doesn't have any sort of injuries, been injury prone this season. But if they play with this intensity and this commitment, then I think we can all see Southampton staying in the Premier League. But that's still a big if. But brilliant for Nathan Jones. And, he'd have worked hard since he would have come in. He would have wanted a better start. And, as I say, it's a big result tonight for him.